Lloyd, why now? Why are you coming to talk about this now?
I think really the reason being is this has been a horrific journey, to be honest. A journey of maybe about 17 years of living a life that I didn't want to live, living a lie, living the way that other people maybe wanted me to live, or that I thought other people would want me to live. Probably directed and dictated in many ways by football.
Is it the football side of it you're worried about, or the other side of it? Were you worried about your career in terms of coming out?
No, I don't think it would impact on my development in refereeing. I don't think that. The biggest worry for me was about being judged differently from my colleagues who aren't gay. I suppose being judged by fans for who I am off the field rather than who I am on. At the end of the day, I'm a referee. I will get things right and I'll get many things wrong. We all do. It's the nature of the job. But I want to be judged for the decisions that I make on the pitch and not those off. But I feel doing this interview that I must say I'm petrified about is absolutely crucial for not just my colleagues, but my colleagues who are players, who I know many are suffering this same battle and journey that I have suffered.
Why is it so taboo in male Scottish football?
I think the honest answer is I don't know. I think lots of other sports have managed to make this not even a subject that we should be talking about. I know people will watch this today and say, why is this even news? Why are you even talking about this? I'm talking about this because I know that there are people out there watching the game, working in clubs, playing the game, refereeing, who are continuing to live in a way that they don't want to live. In response to your question, why is it still taboo? I think fans have a big influence on how people are made to feel on the pitch. I think we need to get better at talking about it and making it less of a scary subject, because I certainly know when I was living a lie, so to speak, I was one of the worst for deflecting and becoming part of dressing room banter, where you would use gay as a way of having banter. But I would do that because the limelight wasn't on me. And I know that's what a lot of boys do today. Now, I'm not saying because they do that they're 100% gay, but it's easier to have banter about the subject when you're hiding yourself, because you're putting the light away from yourself.
How did that make you feel, though?
Horrific, because I've been on many lads' holidays, and we all know what happens on lads' holidays. You know, you go out, you're having a good time, and that involves meeting usually girls. So I was put in many positions where you had to do something or be part of something you didn't want to be part of. But it's really, really hard to explain, if I'm honest. And I think only people who are living what I have lived, in fact, what I should say, people who are living what I have lived will sit there now and watch this and say, oh my God, that's how I feel. And the sad reality is we're not going to hear that, because, or we may hear that, I'm really hoping that we hear that, But we haven't heard that we've never really heard that because people don't feel safe enough or able enough or confident enough or protected enough, I don't know what word to use, to share what I'm trying to share with you. And I'm finding the words quite difficult to share.
Take us through the journey, if you like. You said you knew probably about 17 years ago or something, but it's really only in the last maybe 18 months with your family and your friends. Tell us a bit about how that's been.
Let's just say when I shared it with those closest to me, it was an emotional situation. It was really difficult. I'm not emotional sharing this with you today at all. I'm actually quite relieved, is what I would say. But at that point, I thought my life's over, sort of thing. It felt so scary that I can't even really remember doing it, to be honest. I was really, really worried and really petrified of rejection. That was my worry. Not from my own family. It was more from those around me. I was worried that I would be rejected for it. But I think I'll take it back a step. I think football contributed quite significantly to that emotion and that feeling. Had I not been involved in football, I don't think it would have taken me anywhere near as long. What I will say is, I have never had a negative comment since sharing it with those around me. And now I am fairly open. For example, on my social media, I'll post pictures with Hamish, who I've been with now for around a year. And I do it confidently, I do it happily, I'm proud to do it. But I know that a year ago, I mean, sitting here talking to you today, Alison, I'm quite confident in doing that, and I feel I have a responsibility to do that for boys who are living what I've lived. What I would say, when I overcome that, life's been far easier, far less stressful.
So did getting involved as a referee, wanting to become a referee, did you think twice about that because you thought, well, I'm gay and how on earth can I do that?
Not really, because I suppose those that know me will know me as being quite a confident person. I would say I've always had a level of confidence, but I would say that a lot of my confidence was probably wasn't natural confidence. It was put on because I had to have that front, that stern, hard face. People would often say, what's wrong with you? You're a bit stern or whatever. But we know that if you come across a bit more strong or you come across less soft, that the perception is that you're much more masculine. And I think in football, this thing about masculinity is the key point. People think if you're gay, then you're not masculine. Well...
And that's a weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. And people often think that there is if you look at someone, they can say, oh, he's straight or he's gay. Well, I'll tell you now, you can't. Because there are many people out there who are well known, who are masculine in how they present and are quite possibly living a different life.
How has this all affected your mental health? You must have had sleepless nights over the years, and what's it been like?
There's been some really, really dark days, very lonely days, I would say, even when I've had people around me. And I say lonely because although you've got people around you, even if they know what your issue is or what your worry is, they don't truly understand it. And that's the bit for me that makes you feel lonely. I spoke to Libby, the chief exec of Back Onside, maybe 6 months ago, strangely at a football game. on the pitch just after I had finished warming up. And one of the questions, we were talking away, and Libby was unaware that I was gay, and we had I think I'd said to Libby something down the lines of, I wonder how many footballers in Scotland are actually gay. And Libby said, oh, I don't know. And I said, oh, because I am. Just like that. And it was quite light-hearted humour, and Libby we were just kind of laughing about it. And then we kind of got to the conclusion where we were like, well, actually, I don't know, but there must be plenty. And then I suppose that a number of months ago, the wheels started to go, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should be considering doing some kind of interview to help support those who are living what I've lived. I think obviously with Josh Cavallo coming out in Australia has been a significant help to the footballing community, and more laterally Jake Daniels down at Blackpool has significantly contributed to the empowerment that I have wanted to do this. I think it's really important to point out as well, both Josh and Jake have had significant support from the footballing community. And I actually am really confident that I think Scottish football as a community, Scottish fans, I think will absolutely support me in doing this. And I think absolutely would support anybody in Scottish football who feels the need to do this. And I'll go back to the question that I kind of put out there earlier around why should you do this? You know, why is he doing that? No one cares. What's the point in interviewing about something? Just normalise it. We can't normalise it yet because we need those in the game, watching the game, supporting the game to normalise it. However, I am confident that I think fans in Scotland will.
Referees are always a target for fans, no matter what. How have you handled that previously? And do you think there'll be another layer of banter, or whatever you'd like to call it, when this news filters through?
Look, Scottish fans are full of banter and full of patter, whatever you want to call it. Don't get me wrong, I think social media is where the issue lies. I don't think the issue is in stadiums and football grounds. I was fortunate enough to referee the Scottish Junior Cup final in 2018 before I went up to Category 1. And what an amazing day. You know, it was a great occasion. There was lots of banter that day towards me, and I refer to it as banter because fans, it's their big day to go out and watch games and let off some steam, I see it as.
But some of it can be very cruel, very direct, and you know that can be difficult to take. Or do referees just have to take that as part of their job?
I think I'm probably fortunate enough to say that I've never felt it's been overly personal. I think obviously given I'm doing this today, I'm trying to be as confident as I can in sharing what's a very personal thing to me and a personal thing to so many other players and officials and you know, club staff or what have you out there. I'm not naive enough to sit here and think that there might not be a comment made towards me in my first game back or a game in a year's time, whatever that may be. Because fans often run out of things to say during a game when they're not happy with you. But I guess, how do I deal with that? I suppose, rightly or wrongly, I've normalised it now. And I must say, I like a roar here and there because it's part of the atmosphere. Obviously, during lockdown, there were no fans in grounds. And I've got to say, I didn't enjoy it at all. I thought it was pretty awful. Even competitive games felt like friendlies. There was no... the fans shouting and contributing, to me, that keeps me focused on the game as well. You don't really hear individual comments. It's more a general noise. So I suppose just over the years you gain more experience and it becomes less of an issue, really. But I'd like to think with something like this, the fans would really support it and would encourage people.
Do you think the environment's different now and it's ready for that?
Yeah, I think if you compare it back to when Justin Fashanu obviously came to Scotland in I think 1990 or something like that, and he played, we obviously spoke earlier, Alison, that you were a journalist then and you didn't overly remember a huge backlash of him coming here because he was gay. But I think the culture nowadays, is far more fit for purpose. I think people are becoming more understanding. I think people are starting to say, why is this a news story? I think that's a good comment to make, but also on the other hand, it's a news story because we're still in a culture, we're still in a sport that's quite dated when it comes to diverse issues as a whole. We still hear racial abuse in stadiums. I mean, we still hear racial abuse. It's utterly frightening that that people resort to that as a way of antagonising or abusing players or officials. But I think there are a high number of people out there that would call it out in a stadium. So if I or others had to be homophobically abused, or if players had to be racially abused, for example, I think the stronger personalities and the people who don't agree with that in stadiums will call it out.
You're very passionate about Scottish football, passionate about fans, passionate about your job. What do you love about your job?
Well, I was never that good with the ball at my foot, to be honest, hence why I'm a referee. And I think most referees would say that. I'm really passionate about it mainly because the opportunities that I have got in football that I would never have got as a player, being in the largest stadiums in Scotland, to the smaller stadiums in Scotland that have a really strong community feel. Being part of clubs and fans' big day is an honour to be part of. It wasn't that long ago that I'd done a Scottish Cup game that involved a non-league team, and the atmosphere was just great. Everybody was out, it was bustling. A Saturday at 3 o'clock is what I look forward to every week. So, I go to work and that's the day that I look forward to. Some fans will think that I probably look forward to winding them up or whatever, because they certainly contribute when they think I'm wrong. But I think refereeing has brought so much to my life. Fitness is a big thing. I've been part of presentations, educational talks, coaching, helping those at grassroots try and reach Category 1 level in Scotland. Refereeing in Scotland is at a really, really positive standard and level across Europe. We're closely monitored when it comes to polar heart data, so every time I train and referee, we have to submit that. We follow a rigorous training plan throughout the week. We regularly attend the Orium for group get-togethers and development sessions. And I think the main subject just now is VAR, that's on the horizon as well, and it's something that we've been hugely welcoming, and Scottish football as a community are hugely welcoming that. So,
well, to that end, how supportive have the Scottish FA been?
So I spoke to Crawford Allen, the head of refereeing, about this a couple of weeks ago, and he was really welcoming of this message. Like me, like everybody, again, I've repeated throughout this interview, we were unsure why maybe this message had to be given. But I think we've covered in some of this discussion why it needs to be given. and Crawford has really, really supported this message. So I'm really grateful to Crawford for the support that he's given me previous to this. I suppose I've phoned him a bit more than I would usually like to speak to the head of refereeing. So yeah, he has been supportive of this message. And I think like him, like me, like many people or most people in Scotland, Scottish football, don't want this to be a subject matter. It doesn't need to be a subject matter in the future, hopefully. But clearly just now it does, because there's still quite a bit of work to be done.
How do you think you will be feeling when you go out to referee your first match of the new season?
Empowered, actually. I do think people will. So I think there's twofold to it. I think people will look at this interview and say, "Oh, good on him. At least he's tackling or trying to tackle some of the oppression that's out there." And then you'll have other people that will go, "Oh my goodness, what is he thinking? He's a referee. You get abused anyway. You're going to get even more abuse now." But as I said earlier, I don't think Scottish fans will hone in on that fully. They're there to watch football. They're not there to watch anything other than that. And they'll judge me for what decisions I make on the pitch, I hope. However, as always, like I said earlier, I'm always eager to get out there and referee. I enjoy the camaraderie with the players, the clubs, and with the fans, because as I've said, they're a massive part of this. And I think the fans really have a responsibility here in helping normalise this message, because you never know, or I think probably statistically, we do know that they could be watching and supporting players who are hiding who they truly are. And I think we owe it to those players to support a message like this, because we've seen in Australia and we've seen in England that it's been very well supported. Let's do that in Scotland. Let's do that for our players, our clubs, our sport. But I think the more people that have the courage to do this, have the courage to stand up and normalise something that just should be normal, or start to at least feel more confident and be able to speak about this subject and seek the support from organisations like Back Onside, who are absolutely eager to support people in football and further afield. We know how amazing a job that Back Onside do. There's lots of people that I know who reach out to Back Onside, but there's lots of people who are petrified to reach out to Back Onside. And if it wasn't for the relationship I had with Libby, I wouldn't be sitting here having this interview today.
Some of those people are petrified, full stop, to talk to anybody.
Absolutely, and I was one of them. And if it wasn't for meeting Hamish, I would probably still have been one of them, because he's helped bring out that confidence that I believed I had, paint a picture of this world differently to what I've seen it before. So I very much seen it before as a place that was just going to annihilate me for being me. But he's helped me see it through a different lens. And I'm really grateful for that.
And finally, having talked about this for a good wee while, what is your overriding emotion or feeling at the moment?
So, strangely, a sense of relief that I have done this. Again, I would put it out there that I really would welcome the support of supporters, colleagues, football players who I'm refereeing, and I know they will. I've got a really good relationship with the majority of footballers, as long as I'm not making any wrong decisions. But yeah, I think I have a real sense of relief through doing this, and I really, really passionately want to be part of helping drive change in Scotland. I am willing to stand up and speak about this where required, where needed. And I suppose the bottom line is, I'm hoping in a year or two, whenever that may be, that this is completely old news and that people can just be them. Because, like I've said previously, people are killing themselves because they can't be them.
Thank you.
Thank you.